Hey, at least the Rangers didn't get shut out on the All-MLB team. Yes, there's a representative, and yes, we'll talk about him and share our thoughts about it, the whole team, with you. Lots more coming, too. Is there a birthday boy in the house? Maybe not in the house, but we've got one to talk about. It's all coming up on the DLLS Rangers podcast. When your closer is the second team selection for one of the relief pitchers, basically your closer is the closer for the all-MLB teams. And it's a little bit, just a little bit, like getting a hit to break up a no-hitter in the ninth inning. But hey, the Rangers broke up the no-hitter in the ninth inning. They got Kirby Yates on the team as we welcome you into the All-City Sports Studios, and we welcome you to the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan here. I'm Rads with J-Dub. Jeff Wilson's here, but no Abs today. We'll get back to having her on the program on Monday. And again, it's nice. It's really nice to have anybody. There's a lot of teams that had nobody on the team, including two from the division, the Angels and the Mariners.
Yeah, and you don't want to be shut out on these things. And,
no.
And the Rangers have good ball players. They had six selections between the first team and the second team.
Yeah.
Last year, obviously they won the World Series, but this was done, based on regular season stuff. And Seager and Simeon were first teamers, and then Heim, Garcia, Evaldi, and Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah, he only got there at the trade deadline.
Yeah, but he'd been pitching well for the Cardinals.
Yeah, true.
But anyway, and Kirby Yates is incredibly deserving. You look at his numbers, and they're excellent. And it also kind of, in my opinion, emphasizes the need to either re-sign him or find a veteran pitcher who can close games. The Rangers can have these great arms and all that stuff, and they do, but it's the experience that matters. And Kirby Yates doesn't blow guys away, but his fastball has some unique characteristics. His splitter's unbelievable, and you want that. You want that if you have title aspirations, as the Rangers do. You want somebody, either Kirby Yates himself or somebody who is going to nail you down a bunch of saves.
Yeah, so in the description of the program, I asked the question, and we'll discuss it here in just 1 minute, but does this help or hurt the Rangers' chances to sign Kirby Yates in the offseason as a free agent, 37-year-old? We'll talk about that in a second. First, we welcome all of you. We appreciate you being here on your Friday lunch hour as we want you to chat with us. Please, for sure. We always like that. We'll answer your questions as we can and as we see them. Of course, like us, subscribe to us too, because we like you, and we would subscribe to you if you asked us to. So please.
And we're about to answer Natalie's question. Will the Rangers re-sign Yates?
Yes.
It's interesting. If you look at MLB trade rumors, they did their top free agents. They do the top 50 every offseason, and they had Kirby Yates getting a 1-year deal for $14 million. At his age, he's 36, 37. You may not want to give him a commitment beyond that, but if Kirby Yates has an offer of 1 year and $14 million, and you come in and say, we'll give you 2 and 20, he's going to take the 2 and 20.
No doubt. And remember, he was 1 year, $4.5 million last year.
Right.
As he had a good year with the Braves last year in 23. And then, but he was injured basically from 20 to 22. So
and really,
he's been trying to rebuild that sort of thing that he had.
And in 23, he said, he said this year that in 23, he wasn't quite right. Still was, the elbow wasn't quite right. He didn't feel great the whole time. He was trying to figure things out. He gave up a lot of home runs. in addition to all the other things he did well, the home runs were a problem. Shoot, I gave him 1 this year, 2 maybe, and was just feeling better. And he knew during the offseason he was going to have a decent season. So he set goals. He said, he wanted to be an all-star, which he was. I don't know that he could have envisioned doing what he did, but now that he's done it, why not do it again? And again, Chris Young, I say this over and over again, the Royals team that he won on the World Series with had a standout bullpen, and Greg Holland was the closer of those teams. Just a guy that you knew was going to go in and get the job done. And it's so important. It's just so dang important to have that. The Rangers saw in 23 that the bullpen almost cost them a chance to even go to the playoffs.
Yes.
And then saw the bullpen do what they were hoping it would do in the playoffs, and they won the thing. So go get you a closer, Chris Young.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, 38 is the year, right, that you feel like guys are going to start to decline. First of all, they don't necessarily. Second of all, Kirby Yates didn't have much, wear and tear, for lack of a better word, on his arm in 20, 21, 22, right? Even in 23, not as much. This year he saves 33 out of 34 opportunities for the Rangers and has a 1.71 ERA as a closer. So absolutely fantastic numbers. And like Jeff says, he didn't give up home runs. Clearly, the numbers indicate he didn't blow saves.
Right.
So obviously, this is a guy that I think you could probably count on for 2 years, and I think that might be, to your point, Jeff, the sort of the thing, right, that pushes him over the top to say, yes, I'll stay with Texas if they'll give me 2 years.
Sure. And, again, payroll, when you're structuring a team, yes, you look at the upcoming year, but they look at payrolls way down the line to make everything work out. And, with what will be coming off the books after next season, Yates, you can definitely find a spot for him.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But that needs to be a priority. Again, it doesn't have to be Kirby Yates, but, I Kenley Jansen, the free agent. I don't know if you want to sign Kenley Jansen, but, a guy who can still go out and get it done and who, when you give him the ball in the ninth inning, you're incredibly confident that you're going to win that game. And on the one save that Kirby Yates blew, the Rangers won the game anyway.
That's right.
So,
yeah. Let's take a look at the teams. The first team, All-MLB. This was a big shindig last night, man. They had it in Las Vegas. They had a red carpet. They were all dressed up and gussied up and nowhere to go and all that stuff, except they had somewhere to go. And really not too many surprises on this first team. Tarek Skubal, of course, gets there as a starter for the Tigers. Paul Skeens, after an unbelievable rookie year, also making it as a starter. You see what they do. They give you 3 outfielders. They do each position around the infield. And then, of course, there's 2 relief pitchers and 5 starting pitchers. Last year on this first team, the middle infield was represented by the Rangers, Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. Not surprising, I think, that this year's team has quite a few Yankees and Dodgers.
They're good players. I guess Mookie Betts may be a surprise because he was hurt and missed some time. Contreras for the Brewers. I was thinking about this earlier. You talk about how the Brewers have to make smart trades and things like that. They got him in a trade with the Braves after the Braves kind of had an unexpected surplus at catcher and needed a shortstop. So, all these things worked out for the Brewers. So good for them. Good deals. That's how they survive. You look at that pitching staff, and that's pretty solid. Pretty solid.
Yeah, pretty salty.
Hard to argue with any of those.
Yeah.
So I'm not questioning Mookie Betts. Obviously, he's one of the best players in the game. But did his season still match somebody who played more games?
Right.
But he also played shortstop and
he did
base. He can do it all.
Played some right field out there. So anyway, that's and again, it's that history too. And by the way, this one is voted on by 50% of fans, and then there's a panel that includes a lot of players and some media and some front office people, and 50% of the vote is determined by them. So there is definitely a fan component to this, and all of these were selected, as they were last year and every year, they were all selected prior to the playoffs, prior to the postseason beginning. So second team, let's take a look at this. That is where we find Kirby Yates down there. Like we say, he's the closer of this whole shindig. So good for him to be represented there. And really, Jeff, when you look at those 5 starting pitchers, you go, okay, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good with all those guys too.
Yeah.
Pretty good rotation.
You look at 4 Padres on the second team. I mean, they were that division series between the Dodgers and the Padres. It might have been the best series of the whole postseason. That might have been the NLCS, even though it wasn't the NLCS. The winner of that series I thought would go. And then you see some rookies. Obviously, Skeens is a rookie. So is Shota Umaga.
Yeah.
I think there were 4 rookies in all. Jackson Merrill is a rookie. So that's Mason Miller, of course.
Mason Miller. That's right.
So 4 rookies. Good for the young guys. But Framber Valdez had a great second half. Umaga had the big start to the season coming over from Japan. Lugo was just a workhorse.
Yep.
Cease was the big trade. I was thinking about this the other day. The Rangers really thought they had a shot at Cease in spring training. It was a spring training trade, and the White Sox went for, I've heard quantity over quality, because the Rangers never said what the package was that they put together, but they were like, our package was better.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't as many players.
Okay.
It was not as many players, but their package was better. So, if you are the White Sox and rebuilding, maybe you're shooting for quantity, a chance to get more, I don't know, more players.
Maybe you don't believe in your development, right? It's like, geez, we better volume shoot here because we can't develop these guys.
Yeah, but the Rangers felt really, really good about that. And, what a difference would that have made? What difference that would have made? Because ultimately Max Scherzer wasn't able to perform like everybody was expecting. And, you dealt with various injuries throughout the season. If you have Dylan Cease, I mean, I'm not saying the Rangers are suddenly a playoff team, because they're still not going to be able to overcome their offensive inequities.
Still got to hit.
But they would have Dylan Cease for this season. I was thinking about that the other day. The random things I think about.
Yeah, right, that just go through your brain. I'll tell you this. If I was a general manager right now, I would make it a priority to sign Jose Iglesias. Not because he's that great a player, but he's such a good singer. I mean, he was the entertainment last night at this thing, all in pink leather pants and a big sequin jacket, and he sang his song OMG. Now, it's in Spanish, but he does say, oh, my God, in the chorus, and I can understand that. Okay. But I'm telling you, you can just tell this guy can sing and this guy can perform.
You could have a big Tony Beasley, Jose Iglesias
have
duo.
A sing-off. Yeah.
Well, he can pitch. He was the Braves closer. He was a deadline deal a couple years ago with the Angels. He's always been a pretty good closer. He started with the Reds, I think, in his career. So, I mean, let's say Kirby Yates isn't available. Well, there's a guy, Clay Holmes, the Yankees closer for most of the year this year. Might have just worn down. I don't know. He's another guy that, probably going to get a big deal. Tanner Scott with the Marlins and the Padres, one of their trade deadline acquisitions, is another free agent closer. But they're looking at multiple years and probably $10 to $15 million a year. Kirby Yates seems like a good fit.
He does, and he was a great guy in the clubhouse. Got along so well with this team. There's no doubt that he is a guy that the Rangers are targeting. We know that. And in fact, maybe Natalie asked earlier, what's the biggest target? We've said it. We'll say it again. The biggest target is Nathan Eovaldi, right? That's the free agent that they want to land the most. And I would say number 2 behind that would be Kirby Yates. And then probably after that, since Chris Young's the general manager, would be another pitcher. But they might haul off and go for a bat too. So
I'd throw Sasaki in there.
Of course.
Honestly, they may want him more than Eovaldi. I mean,
sure.
if we're just looking
upside, long
straight
term
baseball, age, all that stuff. But and Sasaki has not been officially posted yet, so it's going to happen. The team's committed to it. I've been getting that wrong. I read somewhere that
I saw that too. And in fact, I think it has to do with there's some thought that he won't be posted till December 2nd,
Right.
because that's when the this year of the international signing, like right now, the Rangers have no money left in their international
Right.
signing bonus pool. It refreshes on the 1st of December.
Yeah.
Every team.
So, yeah. So anyway.
But that changes everything. So he's not signed by December 15th, right? Then he's signed by January 15th or 17th or whatever.
Right.
The 45 days beyond.
The 15th is the international signing day. That's the big day. And, really you need to get it done before then, because all these teams have already lined up agreements with a bunch of players. And if you're going to commit $5 million, let's say, or $6 million, you need to give these kids a chance to sign somewhere else. It's just,
Sure.
The downside of Sasaki is that a bunch of kids in the Dominican and Venezuela are going to get screwed over. But anyway.
Yeah. Hopefully not. Maybe he'll make a quick decision and things will get settled quickly. So anyway, that's it. That was the All-MLB team for this year, and at least the Rangers are represented. We come back. Let's talk a lot about the birthday boy today, and let's try to settle the Rangers 40-man roster as the deadline approaches for that Rule 5 draft. So we'll do all that and plenty more as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast.
You know what? It is getting a little cooler.
It is
here.
Yeah, I liked it this morning.
But you still, if you're going to the ballpark or going to the football field or taking snacks for a soccer or basketball game for your kids, you need a cooler, and that's where Rugged Road comes in. These coolers are great. The one that we have, I've lifted it. It is so light. It's not burdensome. It floats. It's a very versatile, very durable thing that you're going to want. You make investments in these coolers. It's like luggage, they get beat up and everything.
Yeah.
So buy one that's going to last you a little bit longer and do it with Rugged Road. They're just great. They really are a good Christmas item. That's you can get for your family or your dad, your wife.
Sure. Yeah. Your brother.
Anybody who likes the outdoors. Do it for them. So
your podcast partner.
There you go, baby. There you
go.
So check out ruggedroad.com, ruggedroadoutdoors.com, and if you use the code DLLS, you get 10% off.
Yeah. So Jeff and I are big fans of HelloFresh. We have availed ourselves to many of the meals that they provide, and they're awesome. Every single meal, we all had different ones, and we compared notes, and they're all fantastic. You need to get yourself some HelloFresh. These things are super easy. It's self-contained, man. Comes in a vacuum-sealed box with those little ice packs that are pre-done in there. They send you the meat. They send you the ingredients. They send you the instructions. They send you the spices, everything. And then you look at the card and you just make it up, and anybody can do it. And once you finish doing that, you'll realize, man, that's a fantastic meal, and you'll order more. And that's the idea here. We want you to get 10 free dinners from HelloFresh. It'll come over the course of 7 boxes. It's for new users only. And all you have to do is use the code FREERANGERS to get your free HelloFresh. Time now to talk about that 40-man roster.
Oh, yeah.
The deadline's the 19th, right?
Good 40-man talk, yeah.
Yeah.
To set the reserve list is what officially happens. The reserve list is the 40-man roster. So another one of those deals where baseball doesn't call something what they should.
Right.
But anyway, so they're going to set the 40-man roster, and it's a big deal because there are prospects who have earned the right to become free agents or eligible to be selected in the Rule 5 draft because they aren't on the 40-man roster and they've met the minimum requirements for being Rule 5 eligible.
And how many years is that in professional baseball?
So for high school players who are selected in the MLB draft or for international free agents, it's 5 years.
Okay.
For college players selected, it is 4. So anyway, there are prospects and minor leaguers across baseball who are up for the draft, and some are going to get selected in the major league portion. It's $100,000 to draft the guy. He has to stay on your 40-man the whole year. If he doesn't, he has to pass through waivers, and then if he passes through waivers, you have to offer him back to the original team. So it's a complicated process, but it's good for the players. So it prevents teams from just stashing these guys away and burning up their opportunities to be in the big leagues.
Sure, absolutely. So a guy like Emiliano Teodo has been in the league, has been in the organization, I should say, for 5 years.
Yeah.
He's a young kid too.
Yeah, he is. The international guys sign a little earlier than preps. Teodo is. He did sign a little bit later, though. He did not sign as a 16-year-old, but it's very, very apparent that Emiliano Teodo will be getting an available 40-man spot. The Rangers, when I asked at the end of the season, it was going to be anywhere from 3 to 5 guys. They only have 3 openings right now on the 40-man, but you can always go get you a 40-man spot. There are players who they can,
basically
designate for assignment who, probably have a good chance of getting through waivers. Not going to name any names, Garrison Garabito, but I think, there's an opportunity there to clear a spot. And Carson Coleman, the guy who the Rangers got in last year's Rule 5 draft, who's injured and is going to miss this season as well. Hard to carry that guy for 2 years and another off season. So he may get offered.
But
back
now,
to the
if they
Yankees.
do, since he was a Rule 5 guy, he has to still adhere to those rules.
Has to go through the process. Yeah. So anyway, and he may get through because he's hurt, and the Yankees may not want him back. So we'll see what happens. But the MLB.com did a listing of players they suspect would get protected by the Rangers for every team. Yeah. And they picked 5 pitchers. Yeah. Teodo, let me find the list. Teodo,
Winston
Santos obviously had a big year, even though he's never pitched above AA like Teodo. Huge arm.
Aiden Curry.
That's one that I'm not sure about. Josh Steven, who probably was not before the fall league. And then he goes out and pitches his tail off for the fall league and is one. And then Dane Acker, who was Rule 5 eligible for the first time last year, was not protected, surprised me. He came back this year, was healthy, didn't have his best season, but he still had like an ERA in the low 3s. So I really like the guy personally. And, you talk about when he was in the Elvis Andrus trade with the A's, goes out and immediately blows up his arm. But then the Rangers saw him, at full health, and they're like, this is one of our top 6 starting pitchers. And that was a couple years ago. And, last year he dealt with some injuries, before 23. So he's finally healthy. I think he gets protected. I really do. But anyway, there are position players. Maximo Acosta. Mm-hmm. He is a guy who really had a great second half this year for Frisco. Hit really well in the fall league. Probably has some eyes on him. Cody Freeman, again, same boat as Acosta, has not been protected previously. Blaine Krim. So, and an interesting one is Abby Ortiz, who's the Rangers minor league player of the year in 2023. Had a mixed bag at Frisco, was good early, not good for the middle months, and then finished really, really strong. I don't think he gets protected. He's a first base, fringy first base DH type. So I really do think that if they protect anybody, it's going to be on the pitching side.
And the Rule 5 draft takes place at the winter meetings.
It does. It's like the last event.
It's the big deal.
It's the closing ceremony, if you will. Everybody goes to the airport as soon as that thing ends. So but there are names on here do you recognize, like Kellen Strom, a guy who's been in the organization forever and finally made it to AAA. Jose Gonzalez, who had a great year, but it was at low A. Nobody's going to put a low A guy on the 40-man and try to carry him. It's going to be tough to do. So we'll see what happens. There's some catchers. Aaron Zavala is another one. Outfielder who looked like a can't miss guy for his first couple of years in the minors and then has struggled the last 2 years. I think he won't get selected, won't be protected. The Rangers minor league reliever of the year, Brian Magdaleno. He's Rule 5 eligible. So some arms, some good guys, but I think that ultimately it comes down to the Josh Steven, Santos, Teodo, and then then we'll see from there.
And yeah, so Teodo's
Akers,
the
yeah.
6th ranked prospect in the Rangers organization. Santos is 8, and Josh Stephen is 25. So if there are only 3 spots available, which likely there will be more, but if there are only 3 available, you'd have to feel like, again, especially with Chris Young, ultimately calling the shots, pitching.
Yeah, and again, you can open up a 40-man spot. You can trade from your roster. You can just DFA guys. You see it a lot, and the Rangers haven't done any of that yet. Other teams have. Other teams have cleaned up their 40-man. But so it'd be interesting to see. It's always an interesting day. Always kind of a newsy day. There are some trades that can be made that day too. So we'll see what happens.
I'm drawing a blank. I know the Rangers have had a couple of 40-man guys guys they selected in the 40-man.
Yeah.
I mean, in the Rule 5 draft, I should say, that had success. And maybe, if I'm not mistaken, even long-term. Do you know this off the top of your head?
I guess really the one that sticks out to me was that Delino DeShields was a Rule 5 guy who, actually turned into a pretty key component of that 2015 team.
Yeah.
Josh Hamilton, the Rangers did not select him in the Rule 5 draft.
Could have.
The Cubs did and traded him to the Reds. So he's a Rule 5 guy, a Rule 5 success story, I guess, if you will. I can see him. Santana, the pitcher, Johan Santana, who ended up winning Cy Young awards, is a Rule 5 guy. Roberto Clemente was a Rule 5 player.
Yeah.
So there are good guys out there. The Rangers have always tried to get guys, and a lot of them haven't stuck. Carlos Tocci, oh my God, what a disaster that guy was. Alex DeGuss, who's still in the majors somewhere, I believe. So there are names that are like, all right, or Brett DeGuss, not Alex, Brett DeGuss. Guys who you pop up, oh yeah, he was a Rule 5 guy once.
Yeah.
Justin Romano, who was the Blue Jays closer, was a Rule 5 pick by the Rangers who didn't stick. So you know names that are there, and anyway,
and
we'll see what happens.
That's what you're all looking for.
Yeah.
And how many teams, the Cubs for sure, and the Rangers for that matter, but kicked themselves about not taking Josh Hamilton.
Yeah.
I mean, the Cubs did take him.
They did take him, but they traded. They took him
to trade him
for the Reds.
Yeah.
Basically is how that worked. They had a prearranged pre-draft deal, like, all right, draft him for us and trade him to us.
Yeah.
And the Rangers are pretty active in that draft. They will usually sign. I mean, they took Carson Coleman last year. So they usually will find a guy. It's going to be a relief arm, although DeShields was not a relief arm, but as they're trying to put together a cheap bullpen, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and that's all about scouting too, right? And their guys have really, of late especially, been really good at identifying those diamonds in a rough.
Yeah.
And I believe that there are plenty of examples of that, not necessarily from the Rule 5 draft, but I generally feel pretty good. Like, oh, the Rangers like him. Okay, that's going to work out pretty well then.
Yeah, there's a team of scouts that people rarely see, and they scout organizations. Especially when they're in a position to trade or at the deadline, they have files on every gosh darn minor league player in baseball, and there are some that scouts just love, and then they'll look at they'll give it to their analytics guys, and they'll like him too. And I think that was a big deal with Carson Coleman. It just never happened, as he was coming off of Tommy John and then had a setback. So anyway, it doesn't always work out, but it's such a low risk thing too.
Yeah, it really is. So there you go. That's a little 40-man talk. Obviously, when the roster must be set, we will be talking about it a little further to see what the Rangers have done to clean up their 40-man roster. And then we'll be all over those winter meetings. And we will be the plan right now, we're scouting the Anatole. They're going to be here this year. The plan right now is for us to do the show from down there, maybe even add some shows to our normal ledger and keep you guys informed on what's happening at the winter meetings. That's all coming up in the future. But don't forget, this is Friday. So Jeff may be coming back with a different hat on, and we're going to come back and talk about a birthday boy as we continue on the DLLS Rangers podcast. All right, we want to talk about floors first, though. Empire Today. Oh, look at that hat.
Mm-hmm.
That is the Klay Thompson hat. More on that in a moment, but floors are so important. This time of year, you want your place to look as nice as it can possibly look for the holidays. You may have missed the window on Thanksgiving, but you can still get your floors done for Christmas. So please do that, and everybody in your family will be happy that you did. It's like, and you'll feel so good about yourself and about your place. It's like it makes a place look brand new. It makes a place look so fresh. It's also that smell that's just so great. I mean, new, right? That smell of newness. So Empire Today is the original. They were the ones that invented all this. Everybody else has been trying to copy them. Can't do it as well. They're basically just copycats. Empire Today stands behind their work. They do their own work. They don't hire subcontractors to come in there and do the work for them. The people work for Empire Today. And, of course, we've talked about it a lot, that great technology where you take a picture of the floor you want, take it to Empire Today, and they can put various different flooring options on that picture so you'll know what it's going to look like when they're done. Get $350 off your new floors, empiretoday.com/DLLS.
I don't know if I'm the resident sleeper expert, but I certainly use it a lot. And if you don't know what Sleeper is, it's the former, it's still a fantasy app, but now they're getting into the daily picks. And all the sports, you're able to do it. Basically, you find a player, whether you like him or you hate him, and you say, is he going to do more than CeeDee Lamb this weekend? Is he going to have more than 60.5 receiving yards or less than that? Is Cooper Rush going to throw for more than 187.5 or less? I would go heavy on the less. Anyway, download the Sleeper app. Use the code DLLS Rangers for a huge first deposit match. I know that says 100, but I think they're doing up to $1,500 right now.
Really?
Yeah, limited time option. But anyway, download the app and use code DLLS for free money.
Yeah, it's fun too. Yep. Lots of fun. Do it. So this hat that Jeff's wearing, the Klay Thompson hat, he went back, as you know, I'm sure if you're a Rangers fan, you at least keep an eye on what the Mavs are doing. So Klay Thompson goes back to his home of years and years and years, a place where he basically earned Hall of Fame when he retires status as one of the Splash Brothers. And he was in San Francisco with the Mavs to take on his former team, the Golden State Warriors, earlier this week. And like hundreds and hundreds of fans wore these hats, captain's hats. He was called the captain, not because he was the captain of the team, but this dude took a boat to work a lot of days in the Bay Area.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he took a boat. So he was the captain, and I thought that was fantastic. Now, and here's the story. Here's the tie to the Rangers. And this is why you watch our show instead of listening to the radio. So I'm listening to the radio, and they're going, I wonder when there's been a player in DFW who has come back of the ilk of Klay Thompson, and what kind of reception did he get? Oh, maybe Josh Hamilton when he came back. He didn't get a good reception. They were all reading the paper when he came back. They were killing him. He had said, we aren't a baseball town, we're a football town. They embraced Klay Thompson in San Francisco like nobody's business. Now, when the Rangers then, ironically, re-signed Josh Hamilton, maybe then there was a little more, there were still plenty of people who didn't forget that he said this is not a baseball town. That's why he was glad to be out in Los Angeles. That wasn't a good example to sort of compare.
Yeah.
to the Klay
Elvis
Thompson
got a good round of applause when he came back with the A's. Ron Washington still gets a great round of applause. Yep. So anyway, but yeah, when I see this hat, I think of Judge Elihu Schmales.
Yes.
It's easy to grin when your ship comes in and you've got the stock market beat, but a man who's worthwhile is a man who can smile when his pants are too tight in the seat.
I love that one. Oh, Caddyshack, there's nothing like it. Make sure you watch it. We've given you that instruction before back on Halloween when we both dressed like our favorite Caddyshack characters. So right now, I will say this. Now batting number 36, left fielder Wyatt Langford. Oh,
There we
and
go.
happy birthday.
23.
How about that?
Man.
Guy plays like he's a lot older than 23. Again, he plays like he had more than, 40 games, if that, in the minor leagues, too. So
161 at bats, I think.
161 at bats. Unbelievable. So Wyatt Langford celebrates his birthday today. That is the reason we make him the subject of our Now Batting segment. And there's just, when you read, I looked at the Rangers postseason write-up of the whole season. They always send us this write-up of the whole season. And his is probably as long as anybody's in there. There was a lot to say about that season, many of which were significant accomplishments, like the first rookie ever and only the second player ever to have an inside the park home run. What was it? A home run and a cycle.
A cycle and a grand slam.
A grand slam.
Yeah.
And a inside the park home run and a cycle. The other one that did it, by the way, was Jackie Robinson.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. You heard of him? Yeah. When he was with Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Wyatt was the only rookie to have ever done that. His first home run was an inside the park home run. That frustrated him because he's a big bomber. And then just so many of the walk-offs. He led the team in walk-offs. His 3 walk-offs, in fact, were the most since Josh Hamilton.
There you go.
In 2011. And he had 3. Walk-offs are significant and huge. Walk-off grand slams are even better. And I think and he had one of those against no less than the Yankees on September 3rd. And I think what they tell you, Jeff, about a guy like Wyatt Langford is like, as the moment gets bigger, he gets more ready, right? Like the moment does not dwarf him, does not frighten him, does not get him shaking in his cleats. He's ready.
Yeah, the big ones, the greats always perform when the team needs them.
Yep.
And it was pretty noticeable. He came out his first month or so and was okay.
Right.
Didn't look overmatched. Never looked overmatched, but wasn't getting a lot of hits. Then he got hurt. Pulled his hamstring. He went to Arizona and he worked with the coaches there. And he kind of got back to some of the things he was doing previously at Florida, just to feel a little more comfortable. And he hits the ball. When he hits the ball, he hits it really hard.
Yes, he does.
Makes a lot of hard contact. But when he came back from that injury list stint, he seemed to just come up with like 2-out hits, just kind of clutch moments, not necessarily late in the game, but just big moments in a game. And it just kind of stuck with me that he had a knack for doing that. And then as the season played out, he did it a lot. When guys made bad pitches, he generally hit them hard, didn't miss mistakes. And it just seems like he obviously the American League Player of the Month for September. And you look at the month that Aaron Judge had and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Wyatt Langford beat out Aaron Judge. You hope it's the beginning of what the Rangers saw when they selected him 4th overall. And we're grateful to have the opportunity to draft him thanks to the Tigers taking Max Clark, the prep guy.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think there's going to be some pressure on him this year. There was pressure on him last year.
Sure.
But I think, the sophomore jinx thing, but the way he finished the year, but I think he's in a good spot. He's not going to be the primary DH. I think he falls probably into the group of guys who play better when they're on the field, instead of just being the DH. But he does it all. He can steal bases. You don't hit slow guys other than Benji Molina don't hit inside the park home runs.
Right.
Right. He got around there, could have scored standing up, but he slid anyway. It's exciting that this guy has a chance to, who knows?
Yeah.
But all-star for sure. Very good major leaguer. Seems very, very attainable. So it should be fun to see what Wyatt does in year 2 and how he comes back. He learned a lot this year. He learned what the grind is like, how he needs to take care of his body. We talked about him not lifting as many weights during the season or lifting as heavy, just trying to maintain. as opposed to gain strength. He's an animal at everything he does, so there are times where you have to tap the brakes a little bit. And then the biggest thing was he hadn't seen 90% of these pitchers that he faced, and so he was working at a disadvantage with the deck stacked against him, if you will. So he's going to have the mental Rolodex, even going late into the season, like when the Pirates came to town. He'd never seen any of those guys, so it was affected him every month. But then you get to see him a second and third time, and you just feel more comfortable. So he's going to just start the next season on a better foot because he's just has that much more experience.
Sure. And to your point about, reducing the amount of weight that he was lifting, I said yesterday, and it may have been misunderstood a little bit, that Boch told him late in the year, don't swing as much. I didn't mean during his at-bats. I meant in the cage prior to the game, right? And that's when he was a grinder. He's a gym rat. He's a field rat. And so he's just in there grinding, and it tires you out. He'd never played 162 games, so he's lifting a little too much weight. He's grinding in that batting cage all the time. And Boch said, dude, tap the brakes, right? Take it easy. And that's one of the reasons everybody in the organization believes Wyatt Langford had the great September that he did, because, he got it. That was something he learned, and he reduced some of those things, and he was much more fresh when he came to the plate. And so that certainly helped his game and helped him become the September player of the month in the American League. So, that was fantastic. And look, this is a guy who has so much upside. And to the point in some of the questions on there, I think it was Natalie asked, is he going to play left or is he going to play center, or will he switch between both? It's a good question. And it's probably a switch, right? I'm not sure the Rangers are exactly sure what they want to do in center field. I know this. They would love to see Leody Taveras, come alive offensively, because they love him in center field. Boch is big on a really good center fielder, but he's got to hit more. And so Wyatt Langford, though, could get some opportunities there depending on what happens with Leody in this offseason. And Evan Carter, depending on his health, could also get some time in center field because he's another speedster out there. Interesting that we think back to when we had John Daniels in the building, and we talked to him about our all-time team, and we were talking about, would you put a Josh Hamilton on your all-time team as your center fielder, or would you put a guy who's a little more, graceful and smooth and fast out there? And JD said, I want my best athlete out there, so you put Josh Hamilton. Similar probably applies to Wyatt Langford. Yeah. It's a tough position to play up the middle, but you may want to put him out there based on that ability.
Yeah, I think it is in flux, like you said. If they acquire a guy like Mike Yastrzemski, who we speculated about, he can play center field.
Yeah,
so it may come down to matchups. Because you don't want Leody batting against left-handers. I mean, you don't really want Yastrzemski doing that either. So maybe that's an opportunity for White to play center on those days. He played 12 to 14 games in the second half in center field. Looked okay. He made a nice catch against the Angels, but the route was a little questionable. But anyway, he didn't look lost. But keep in mind, this guy was a catcher 4 years ago.
Right.
He's still learning. And that was a big storyline last spring. Was, oh my God, how bad is he defensively? How much does he have to learn to play defense? Even though he had played left field at Florida, and the Rangers he's fine. He's not a liability. He showed off an arm there in that last series too, and multiple times he threw runners out. So he's going to get better at that as well. He's just going to get better. He's a sponge. He works. And he's talented.
Yeah.
So those are all things that equate to player improvement and player development. And he is still developing. He's not a veteran. So there will be bumps in the road, but they should be instead of those giant speed humps, just be like those little speed bumps. So it's an exciting thing. If you're a Rangers fan, you're like, all right, what do we have to look forward to? Obviously, you have a lot to look forward to. A team won the World Series just in 2023. Wyatt Langford, though, has a chance to be with this team for a long, long, long time. He's only 23.
Yep, be a very, very good player for a long, long time, and he's only 23 years old today.
He is older than Evan Carter, though.
Yeah.
So that's another interesting one.
Yeah, that is. So there you go. That is talk about the birthday boy on this 15th of November. That was our third hitter. So coming up next, it's our fourth place hitter. That means we're batting cleanup. Lots to talk about as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast. Notice both of us wearing the baseball merchandise today, right? We have football, baseball, basketball, hockey. We have colleges too, but there are 4 or 5 shirts, I think, for each team. And these are 2 of the ones that are branded for baseball, and obviously in part, mostly because of the colors, right? We have Rangers colors.
Yep, red and blue.
Yeah.
I wish there was a gray shirt, though, a gray Rangers shirt. I'm going to have to make a push for that one.
That's an interesting one. Yeah. There isn't one. No, because the Big League Chew would look pretty good on a gray shirt because it's it's got the gum on there. Yeah. So
we'll figure it out.
And look, hey, they're going to add more and more merch. We know that. There's some really cool. In fact, I saw the Stars. I don't know if it's a new shirt. I didn't see it originally, but it's got like a video game from like the Dot Matrix era.
Oh, yeah, right.
Video game hockey player.
I think it's Madonna.
Bent over. Is that
I think
Madonna?
It's Madonna.
Is it really?
Yeah, from the old, like the Sega hockey
Sega
game.
Genesis or something. So anyway, store.allcitynetwork.com to get your merchandise because it's fun, it's cool, and it brands you as one of us.
Now, John, I admit when I make a mistake, and I made a mistake on our first ad reads. I read for Rugged Road, and I should have been reading for Roback.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to do Roback right now.
Yeah, please.
RHOBACK.com. Great stuff. And look at that dog logo. That's probably my favorite thing about him. I had the hat. I wore it on the TCU show.
Wore it yesterday
this
here
week.
too.
Wore it yesterday. Yeah, it's nice and black. It's my black hat now. It's my go-to black hat. Anyway, Roback gear for not necessarily outdoors, but guys who like to be outdoors, gals too. But great on the golf course. Great if you want to go fishing. The sweat, the moisture wicking thing, it's not going to stick to you. The collars never wrinkle. They have some sweet designs in addition to your more traditional stuff that you can wear to the office. So go to RHOBACK.com. They have hoodies on sale, tops, bottoms. It's just great. So Roback.com. What is the code, John? Do you remember off the top of your head?
DLLS Rangers, I believe.
DLLS Rangers 20. DLLS Rangers
that's right,
20. Insert that and go to Roback.com.
Yeah, fantastic. So make up there, and that's all good. And now it's time for us to start our batting cleanup segment. This is something we've been wanting to get to for a few days now, and we've just had so much to do in this segment. We haven't gotten to clean this up yet, but Topps has kind of sent out the images of some of the really cool baseball cards that they're doing now. And I think this is the second year that they have the MLB debut game rookie cards.
Yeah.
Now, I did a feature on this for the Rangers Insider show when there was a thing called Bally. Do you remember that? Anyway, on Bally, I did it's a really cool concept where they give a patch and they put it on there in your what will hopefully be your debut game. Of course, sometimes they come in after the game because you didn't play and they take it off and then they put it back on the next day. But then that patch is affixed to a card. They make the card with that patch on there and then they send it out to the world and somebody finds it. And in the case of Evan Carter, actually, I'm not sure it was his debut patch. I think his was a World Series patch.
Okay.
But there was a patch card, Evan Carter, some guy in like Kalamazoo, Michigan, got it in the pack, went to the game when the Rangers early this year, I think it was in May, they were up in Detroit. This guy went to the game and lo and behold, made a trade with Evan Carter for this one and only baseball card. And the guy got, some bounty. Evan took care of him and all that stuff, but not like big bucks. Just a trade for a bunch of memorabilia and signed, and the guy got a little meet and greet with Evan and stuff. So anyway, I think it's a really great idea. One of one, and there it is. There's the Wyatt Langford debut card, and it's got a little portion of the patch on there. It's really cool. That's the patch right there in the middle.
Yeah, it's the 2024 Topps Chrome Update set, which hit stores on Monday or Tuesday. So, but there's only one of them,
Right.
and I think Jack Leiter has a card in the set too. Only one of those. It's one of one. So you might have a better chance of getting hit by lightning than getting this card. But if you get the card, hold on to it, or be a good guy like the guy from Michigan and
trade it
and make a trade for some bats and balls and such. Anyway, I don't know that Wyatt's necessarily into all that stuff. I tell you, Josh Young's become a big collector of cards.
Yeah,
has been expanding his collection beyond his own cards. There's always, if you guys collect cards and you buy stuff on eBay, the eBay shipping label. So if we're in the clubhouse and I walk by his locker and or on the ground, pack of envelopes and all these eBay shipping labels. So I think he's pretty active on there too. Yeah.
I love, and we were going to show this on the show a month or two ago. It's out there still, though. Google it. One of my favorite bits of off-season video so far was Mike Trout sitting there opening a package of cards with his son.
Yeah.
And they got a Mike Trout card.
Right.
And Mike Trout, there's no doubt, Mike, this was not set up because Mike's not that good of an actor.
Yeah.
And he was really excited to show his son that they got the Mike Trout card. So I think that kind of stuff's great.
Yeah. And he and Josh that last weekend of the season when the Rangers were in Anaheim had a deal set up with Topps where they would open packs of like their best cards, their graded cards. And we did do something on that, as I recall, because I brought in my Mike Trout rookie card.
That's right. That's right.
Have. And anyway, yeah. I mean, the first time I collected cards was 1986. I remember very specifically. The Wilsons were in transit that year. We were threatening to move to Phoenix, and my dad actually went ahead and went out ahead of us and ended up ultimately coming back and finding a job. But anyway, one of the things when he came back to see us, he gave me a 1986 Topps wax box. So I've always had an affinity for those cards. The Dwight Gooden card is one of my favorite cards of all time. And there's a great Ron Washington card. Of course, I didn't know it at the time. I would be appreciating it so much.
Buddies with Wash. Did Wash have a cigarette in his mouth in the card?
No, he had some hair. All right, it's pretty good. But anyway, just a lot. Yeah, and my son is collecting cards now, and I'm still collecting cards and working on some older stuff. But it's just great, And that cool. eBay's the marketplace. Really, there's the lighter, but really eBay sets the prices for all this stuff these days.
Yeah, I'd love to. Wouldn't you love to just get your hands on something like that? That'd be really cool. So I've never been a card collector. I have a brother who is very much one, gets the set every year and all that stuff, the wax box you're talking about and all that. So very cool hobby, very cool tradition, something you can do, if you have children, you have sons or daughters, you could do it with them and enjoy every moment of it. And it's good, clean fun. By God, good, clean fun. Now, other things we want to talk about each day, we're going to try to give you a little bit on the Soto saga. There was an update yesterday. Juan Soto met for 3 hours. He called it a productive meeting with the Boston Red Sox. Interesting that in this meeting, they showed a video paying tribute to so many of the other players who have played for them that are from the Dominican. It's a full sales job. I mean, It's like recruiting, right?
Sure.
And they're recruiting this guy, and they did a nice job, and they, pulled out all the stops and all the bells and whistles and all that stuff. They didn't talk money or terms. So 3 hours, and that is very preliminary, Jeff. Very preliminary.
Yeah, but try to soften him up a little bit,
maybe. Yeah,
make him aware of some things he may not have been aware of. When you think about the great Dominican players, obviously Big Papi, is from the Dominican. I believe Manny Ramirez is from the Dominican. So those are just two off the top of my head. Pedro Martinez too.
Yeah, I was going to say Pedro.
Adrian Beltre played for them for a year. You're only talking about 4 or 5 Dominicans in the Hall of Fame, and at least 3 of them played for the Red Sox at one point. Well, Manny's not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Okay. So how about 3 of the 5 greatest Dominican players? And but 2 of them played for
for the Red Sox.
Yeah, there you go.
So they're trying to make a sale. Everybody is.
No, 3. Yeah, Pedro, Big Papi, Adrian, all in the Hall of Fame, all former Red Sox.
Yeah. 3 out of the 4, even though there have been 5. So
or whatever.
Yeah, however it goes. So math is hard. So anyway, we'll keep you updated on that.
Juan Marichal and Vlad are the other 2. Vlad Guerrero Sr. So 5 for sure.
Yeah. So it does appear that the everything I see and read, the Mets, they feel like the Mets still have the greatest chance. And I think that's simply because Steve Cohen has the most money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to pay. And it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out and if there's any loyalty. And I'm always on the players' side on this. I mean, the team's not going to be loyal to you. So I don't see any reason to necessarily be loyal after a year with the Yankees, good or bad.
Yeah, although, they made a huge trade to get him. They traded away a guy who was on the second team, Michael King. So I mean, you're going to make a trade like that, you got to, really think, hey, we need to re-sign this guy. Ardell thinks he goes to a team in Florida, and interestingly, the Rays were the team that gave Freddie Freeman the biggest dollar money-wise.
Right.
Now, I wonder if their stadium ballpark uncertainty plays a role in that. And again, I wouldn't sleep on the Blue Jays, just because they have the big communications company, Rogers, behind them. They made the big play for Ohtani. The Vlad thing, though, if I'm Juan Soto, I'm like, well, are you guys going to re-sign Vlad?
Yeah.
And if there's no guarantee there, I'd be like, all right. The Yankees, I think that the opportunity to go to the World Series, of course, Juan Soto has already won a World Series. It's not like that's some giant thing missing from his career. But if you get a chance to, win it with a bunch of guys you like and came so close with, and Aaron Judge is under contract for a bunch of years.
Yep.
So that could be a hell of a 1-2 punch for a decade, or close to a decade.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems pretty shiny.
Be fantastic. So anyway, we'll keep you updated on the Soto saga each and every day. Last night, as part of the All-MLB Team Awards, that big glitzy affair in Las Vegas last night, I think kind of the finale of it all was the announcement of the Hank Aaron Award. And the player from each league who won the Hank Aaron Award has won it once before. One of the guys won it in 2022 as an American leaguer. The other won it in 2023 as an American leaguer. They both win it for a second time this year. They would be, you guessed it by now, Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. But the greatest part about this was the award was presented by Hank's wife, Billy.
Oh, man, that's nice. Yeah.
Isn't that great?
We had to fill out a questionnaire the other day for the interoffice stuff about the most famous person you've met. And so I put down George W. Bush.
Yeah.
And Hank Aaron, because I only met him once, interviewed him in a group setting in Chicago. But anyway, I mean, he's, probably the greatest baseball player, at least I've met. So
I mean, we didn't get to meet Babe Ruth, old as I look. So, and I've met Hank too. Only that maybe. I wonder if we were at the same thing. It feel like I met him in Chicago.
Well, whatever.
What were we there for?
It was an announcement for it was either the Negro Leagues Museum or a game that was coming up. But anyway, Wash was there representing. Anyway, so I went to it. You might have gone to it.
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, Hank Aaron.
And Frank Robinson was at that too. Do you remember that?
I think so. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you were there.
Yeah, beautiful. So we both got to meet Hank Aaron. So we both have plenty of opportunities to have met George W. Bush. So that's cool. So anyway, I love that. I love seeing Billy Aaron out there. She looked great. People who review these kinds of things, Wish Abs was here today, said she had by far the best outfit. She was glittery and glamorous, and that was cool for this, especially for the motif of this event. And finally, do you know Dave Sims?
I do.
Yeah. I mean, Dave Sims has been the TV announcer for the Seattle Mariners for, I think, 18 or 19 years.
18.
And he's going back to his home, which is New York, to replace John Sterling as the TV announcer for the New York Yankees. And so, anyway, congratulations to our buddy Dave Sims. He is the most down-to-earth, nicest guy in the game, and he's one of those guys who he's great. I mean, it's a very smart thing to do. He's there. He's, repping the Mariners, or now will be the Yankees, and the first thing he does is seek us out. Hey, what's going on with your team?
Yeah,
he does his work. Skinny.
He does his work.
Yeah.
He's also a really good basketball guy.
He is.
Yeah. I've heard him on the radio during the NCAA tournament working for Westwood One.
Yep.
He's Brad Sham can call a basketball.
He can too.
Yeah.
But
anyway, so that's great. I regret that we won't be seeing Dave as often, but good for him. A chance to go home. It's hard to pass that up. Yeah,
I talked to him on this last series when they were in town, and I said, "Hey, Mr. Yankee." He says, "Shh, not yet," but he knew it was coming, and he said that. He goes, "I am so excited to go home." Right? You're from there. You get to go home and call games for the team you grow up loving. I mean, that is a dream come true. So good for him.
Yeah,
good for a good guy.
Congrats to him.
Like to see good things happen to good guys, no doubt about that. So somebody says, Ardell says, Mark Followell's a legit hockey announcer. Oh, hockey fan, I see. Okay, because I thought you were going to say hockey announcer. I don't know that Mark's ever done hockey, but I know this. It's a great soccer announcer.
Interesting.
Yeah, Mark Followell does soccer for the Olympics. So, yeah.
Well, of course, Eric Nadel started as a hockey guy.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah. Fantastic. So that's a nice way to wrap it up with a little baseball tie from Jeff there. And we will be back next week. We're going to be here each and every day next week. Gets a little wonky the week after, of course, because it's Thanksgiving. But next week, I think we're here at noon, if I'm not mistaken, every day. We know you will be too. We hope you'll tell your friends and bring more people. Let's have more in the chat. We appreciate you doing that along with us today. Spend your lunch hour with us next week too. It's all fun on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.